know that it's still there. There was a large ranch outside, and their name was McAllister. And the town was actually named after that ranch.
Huh.
At that time, I don't know how many years ago that was. And I had, as I said, my father was married twice,
Mm-hmm.
and his first wife, they had 3 children. They had 2 boys and a girl. Well, the 2 boys worked on that McAllister Ranch, and one of the jobs one of the boys had was breaking horses, and he used to break the horses for him when he was there.
Mm-hmm.
But he later, that same boy, his name was Gale, he moved to Ardmore because by then we were living in Ardmore, and he moved to Ardmore. And he tried to enlist, this was just before World War II, and he tried to enlist in everything he could as far as service, and they wouldn't take him because he had trouble with his eyes. Well, war broke out, and he was one of the first ones drafted out of the town of Ardmore, and he was drafted into the Army,
Huh.
and he spent quite a bit of time at various places here in the States, and then by that time, the Army had taken over, had captured a little island called Saipan, and he was assigned to Saipan. He was a carpenter, among other things, and he used to walk to it from where his barracks were or whatever to this shop where he worked. And someone told him that there's still several snipers here on Saipan. So he checked out a machine gun and carried that to work with him.
Oh, goodness.
They caught a sniper, or didn't actually capture him. He was hiding behind some roofing, sheet metal roofing.
Mm-hmm.
And the little guns that my brother had, they wouldn't go through that roofing. And a infantryman came up who had a Grand rifle, if you know what that is. And he stood and shot and the Japanese, he wouldn't, although he was wounded, he wouldn't surrender. He had a hand grenade, and he pulled that hand grenade up there and blew himself up.
Wow.
The town, the island, was close to another island called Taiwan, I believe. And I'm sure you heard of the super fortress, the guy that dropped the atom bomb on, well, it was on that smaller island. It was, where that Enola Gay was assigned, and it took off from there when they dropped the atom bomb. My mother, your grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know yet. No, you wouldn't have met her.
No, I remember her. I remember Granny.
Yeah.
I saw her a couple of times when I was real little.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
Probably did. We came to Ardmore, and my mother got a job in a big hotel there as a maid,
Mm-hmm.
and she was quickly, for some reason, she was quickly promoted as what they call the housekeeper, who made the different daily assignments for the different maids
Mm-hmm.
there. There's something.
Was your mother, is that who we called Granny?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I remember Granny.
yeah.
And then I think I can't remember if I met Little Nana.
Met who?
Little Nana. Do you remember who we used to call Little Nana? I'd have to
I remember
ask.
you doing that, but I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, I'll have to ask my mom. I can't
Yeah.
remember if I met her or if I just saw pictures.
I just saw it. My grandfather was also a preacher, as my father was, but he was a circuit riding, rode a horse, carried pistol in his saddlebags for some reason or other, and he I don't know how. I just know I don't know how many towns he serves or anything.
Yeah.
But he, yeah, my dad was a little bit of everything. He was a minister as a young man, a school teacher for a little while. And like I say, he was a good carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of carpentry work. That hotel that my mother worked at, it was on the corner of the Main Street and C Street. And across the C Street was a grocery store called the Green Front. Well, it caught fire. Well, at that time, they didn't have the push-around baskets. They had little carry baskets.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking out the window at that Green Front was burning. And of course, the fire department came and they was pouring water in there. And those little baskets come floating out of the door.
Oh.
That was, I worked in the grocery store a little while when I was a kid.
Really?
There were two grocery stores across the street from one another. It was at Greenfront and A&P, I think it was called. And I got a job when I was, I don't know, 16 or 17. Worked in the A&P as a package boy and also worked in the store for one thing or another. So you have, I guess every family probably has interesting history. But I don't know every family's history.
Mm-hmm.
I do know some of ours, as I've told you, what little I know about it. It's fun. The picture up there that you got your name on,
Uh-huh.
that's needlepoint. My wife made that.
That one?
Mm-hmm.
Needlepoint is with different colored threads,
Yeah.
and she made that picture there.
Yeah.
I don't know whether any of my children will have as vivid or as varied a life as mine has been, but it has been very, very varied. My father had a stroke when he was I don't know, he must have been close to 90, but he had a stroke, and but he had nice white hair. Well, unfortunately, I took more after my mother than I did him because my dad had blue eyes. My mother had brown eyes. I got brown eyes. And I've been going since 1930. Well, I was born in 1931, so that makes me 94, I believe. And my mother's father was quite a good businessman, but he had some holdings in the Kamish Mountains, if you know where the Kamish Mountains are. And he worked there in the Kamish Mountains, and they built an overhead tramway of some sort. And it was quite a feat. But he got pneumonia, or not pneumonia, a bad cold, and he couldn't continue working. But at that time, he had a contract with some outfit in Chicago to deliver axe handles to them. Now, axe handles don't mean much now, but back then, it was a common everyday, everybody had to have an axe. Well, he had the contract to supply this company with axe handles. But unfortunately, he caught cold and he couldn't continue. And one of Mother's brother, this might be my Uncle Ben, he was not much of a businessman. But so he lost the contract there in Chicago. He didn't make it. My mother's father was Samuel Benjamin Elsie, and I was named after. That's where the name Sam comes from, or Samuel. I was named after the grandfather.
And then where did Wesley come from?
Huh?
Where did Wesley come from?
Something my father was J.B. James W. Williams, and his middle initial name was Wesley. Now, why he was named Wesley, I don't know.
Okay.
But that's where my Wesley came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, my father. My father was well, being a minister, he was very devout and everything. But during World War II, they built a Air Force base down just outside of Ardmore, about 10 miles. It was an Army air base, and my father got a job there as a carpenter. Well, one Christmas season, Mother and I had got together and we bought a nice spot. It was about so big, different tobaccos. My dad smoked a pipe and he could mix the different ones like he wanted to. Well, unfortunately, coming home, my dad rode to work with another man, job sharing, and my dad couldn't get his pipe lit, so he threw the thing out the window and quit it. And he never smoked again after that. Now, Mother and I got this nice thing of mixed tobaccos and didn't know what to do with it.
That's
We had
funny.
to find something else. I don't remember I don't remember what we did, but we did.
When did you start smoking?
When did I start smoking or start buying my own?
Both.
But well, actually, I started buying my own cigarettes when I was 19. When I joined the Air Force,
Okay.
whenever that was, what was that, 51? When did World War II? No. The Korean, when did the Korean thing start? Anybody got a clue? Well, that's when I joined the Air Force I didn't want to get shot at, and I knew if I waited and got drafted, I knew where I was going. So I said, I'm not going to do that. So I joined the Air Force, and I spent, well, how many months? They sent me to, the first month, I guess, was in Lackton Air Force Base. And then they sent most of us, or a bunch of us, to a place in California for school. And when the school was over, they gave us a 30-month day leave, and then I went to England. And so I stayed in England for 3 years, and I came back, and I had a choice. I could either stay in the Air Force. I had 6 months left to do. I could stay in the Air Force and get an honorable discharge at the end of the 6 months, or I could get out of the Air Force, go into an active reserve unit. And I decided I didn't want any more, which was a mistake, looking back, and I didn't want to get tied up that way. I said, okay, I'll just stay in. So I went to a base called Barksdale. It's in just outside of Seaport, Louisiana. In fact, a little town called Boise is there, and it's across the river. So I had a very good friend. It's kind of odd, but I met this man when we were going to school in California. His name was Smith, and that's just his real name. His initials were L.M. Smith, Lawson Monroe Smith. His birthday, unfortunately for him, was Christmas Day. That was his birthday. But he was also did kind of the same thing I did. He elected to stay in for the remainder of his time, and he was assigned also to Barksdale, like I was. He was in a different squadron, but in Barksdale. And his wife preceded him. He got married in England, like I did, and his wife preceded him. She came over here before he did. But of course, when he was assigned to Barksdale, he and his wife got an apartment. Well, I stayed on the Air Force base probably about a month, and I got paperwork done that I was going to live off base. So I got to live off base, and I roomed with Smitty and his wife for the when we were living there, and it came up close to Thanksgiving, and I told my immediate supervisor, he was the master sergeant. I said I would like to get a 3-day pass to go back to Ardmore for Thanksgiving. Now you won't need to do that. We shoot a skeleton through. You get. Guess who got assigned to work or stand by for Thanksgiving?
Aww.
I spent Thanksgiving eating a TV dinner there at that place. So we went on then, finished on that, and it came up close to Christmas time. And I said, Sarge, I'd like to get a pass to go home for Christmas. Oh, you want? I said, no. We tried that for Thanksgiving. I want a 3-day pass to go home for. We lived in Ardmore then. Do you remember? And I would come home on a 3-day pass or something, and going back, I would hitchhike. At that time, people in the service could get a ride. It's not like it is now. And I would hitchhike to Dallas, and Dallas I'd hitchhike over to Shreveport. It worked out real good for me. I rode in all different kinds of cars and trucks and everything else.
I bet.
But that's how I'd get back. I rode with one man. I don't remember which part of the trip or what kind of car he had, but his hood, he had cut out a big part of it and put plexiglass in it, so he had a very high-powered engine. And you could see that engine, and on the front of it he had two big long steer horns. I remember that very distinctly. I got a lot of different rides going back and forth.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. I got a ride with one. I had a small, like a suitcase, like a bag that I had underwear and stuff like that in. And I got a ride with one outfit. It was a pair of farmers in a pickup truck. And I put the little bag that I had in the bed of the truck. Well, they got to wherever they were going. I was going to get out, and they started to leave, and I grabbed that bag out of that truck before they moved on out. That was I had some interesting experiences in Barksdale. We worked out of a sheet metal shop, and we would get I don't know how paperwork worked, but we would get a job assignment to an airplane, and they had primarily B-47s, which one of America's first jet bomber, and they had C-24s, which was a cargo plane, and we would get the paperwork to go to whatever airplane on the base, and we had a pickup truck. Well, I got a job, assigned a job for a certain airplane. It was a B-47 to go do whatever it was I was supposed to do. Well, the way we would approach our airplanes, we could go, there was a roadway alongside the runway, and we would drive our truck down as close as we could, and then we'd walk to where the airplane was. Well, I drove my pickup to as close as I could, and I got out and started to walk to the B-47. But I noticed there was a lot of people around it, and as I was walking towards it, here an officer came And he said, "Or where are you going?" And I said, "I've got a job on that airplane." He said, "No, you're not going on that airplane." Okay. I went back to the shop. I had another little funny experience. The cockpits on those there, they opened up. I don't have a model of one, but they opened up. And there's one side that we always got up on the wing. There was a little door, and there was a crank, and you put the crank in, and it would open that canopy. Well, I wasn't thinking, I don't think. I'm pretty good about that. I thought, well, then maybe they left the battery hooked up on this. They had, and my fingers got beat terribly bad with that crank because I left the crank in the spot, and that thing spun around and beat the heck out of my fingers. So,
Ouch.
that's quite a thing.